What if the world we believe to be logical is in fact a carefully stitched illusion of contradictions? We grow up believing that truth is singular, that logic is linear, and that the universe plays by a set of rules that can be mastered. Yet like shadows flickering on the wall of Plato's cave, the deeper we look, the more our certainties unravel. Hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives are paradoxes, silent riddles that mock our attempts at reason. They are not errors in thinking, but revelations of how limited our frameworks truly are. Paradoxes are not bugs in the system. They are features of a reality far more intricate, far more alien than we dare to admit. Some keep us up at night, others seduce us into circles of endless reasoning. They appear in economics, ethics, relationships, time, language, physics, even in the mirror. They are traps of truth, mirrors that reflect impossibility, yet somehow describe reality more accurately than any straight answer ever could. And once you encounter a paradox, truly see it, it haunts you. You can't unsee it. You either look away or you fall in. And today, we're choosing to fall in. Let's begin this descent into the hidden logic of the world, not with explanations, but with stories, each one a portal to a place where thought turns inside out. The crocodile paradox, predicting the unpredictable. Imagine a mother standing at the edge of a river. Her child is in the jaws of a crocodile, not yet dead, not yet saved. The crocodile speaks. Yes, this is a thinking crocodile, one that plays games of logic. It says, if you correctly predict what I will do next, I will return your child unharmed. But if your prediction is wrong, I will eat the child. Now the mother, desperate and clever, thinks fast. She says, you will eat my child. And now the crocodile is trapped. Because if the crocodile does eat the child, the mother's prediction was correct. And by its own rule, it must return the child unharmed. But if it doesn't eat the child, then the prediction was incorrect, so it should eat the child. The paradox loops endlessly. What's fascinating isn't just the logic trap. It's that such paradoxes often represent more than clever wordplay. In this case, it reflects the unknowable outcomes of moral gambles, of trying to outsmart forces larger than ourselves. In real life, we do this all the time, negotiating with unpredictable systems, governments, nature, fate. You might bet on how someone or something will behave just to secure an outcome. But what happens when the system itself is conscious of your prediction? Can fairness even exist in such a loop? The friendship paradox. Everyone seems to have more friends than you. Ever feel like your friends are more popular than you? Statistically, they probably are. But here's the twist. It's not your imagination. It's a mathematical truth. The friendship paradox arises from the fact that people with more friends are more likely to appear in your social circle simply because they're connected to more people. If you randomly pick a person, the average number of their friends is usually lower than the average number of friends of their friends. The more friends someone has, the more likely they are to show up in anyone's friend group. It's like walking into a room full of mirrors and thinking everyone's image looks bigger than yours, because you're standing in the smallest frame. This paradox bleeds into other aspects of life. We think others are happier, more successful, more fulfilled. Social media amplifies this. We see curated highlights of people who are already highly visible, and the echo chamber grows. But what if we flipped this narrative? What if instead of seeing ourselves as less connected, we understood the paradox as a sign of how connection distributes? You're not alone. You're just standing at a strange mathematical intersection. The tolerance paradox. When tolerance becomes a threat, should a tolerant society tolerate intolerance? On the surface, this seems noble. Tolerance is good. Open minds build peaceful worlds. But the deeper you go, the more dangerous the question becomes. The paradox was first proposed by philosopher Karl Popper. If a society is completely tolerant, even of those who are intolerant, it risks being destroyed by those very people. Intolerance, left unchecked, will erode tolerance. So to preserve tolerance, must we become intolerant of intolerance? But then, aren't we the thing we sought to avoid? This is more than political theory. It's a mirror to the ethical dilemmas we face every day. Do you allow hate speech in the name of free speech? Do you defend the rights of someone whose beliefs could destroy your own? There is no clean answer, and that is what makes this paradox powerful. It suggests that ideals, when pushed to extremes, collapse into their opposites. The paradox of choice, the tyranny of freedom. Imagine standing in front of 200 cereal brands at the supermarket. At first, it feels like luxury, endless choice, total control. But after 10 minutes of comparing sugar content, price, health benefits, taste, and marketing promises, you walk out with the same box you always buy, or worse, nothing at all. The paradox of choice is this: too many options don't make us freer, they paralyze us. Worse still, when we finally choose, we're often less satisfied, haunted by the idea of what we didn't choose. We see this in modern dating, online shopping, career paths, infinite scroll, endless resumes. The illusion that somewhere out there is the perfect option, and if we just swipe one more time, we'll find it. But what if the problem isn't the number of choices, but our obsession with the best choice? Paradoxically, happiness may lie not in maximizing options, but in committing to one path, even if it means accepting imperfection. Maybe freedom isn't in choosing, but in no longer needing to choose. The diamond water paradox. What is truly valuable? Water is essential for life. Diamonds, well, they're just shiny rocks. And yet diamonds cost a fortune, and water is often cheap. Why? This paradox, pointed out by Adam Smith, asks why things with great utility can be less valuable in the market than things with almost no use. The answer lies in scarcity and subjective value. We take water for granted because it's abundant. We overvalue diamonds because they're rare, or because we've been told they're rare. But this isn't just about economics. It's about how we value experiences, people, time. We might chase rare pleasures while ignoring what keeps us alive. We long for recognition, prestige, luxury, and forget the pricelessness of breathing, of a quiet moment, of the people we overlook daily. So maybe the paradox isn't in the things we compare, but in the minds doing the comparing. The ship of Theseus. Paradox. When everything changes, what remains? Imagine an ancient ship, the ship of Theseus, preserved by a dedicated crew. Over the years, each rotting plank is replaced, a beam here, a mast there, until not a single original part remains. Is it still the same ship? Now imagine someone gathers all the discarded wooden pieces and reconstructs the original. Which is the true ship of Theseus? This isn't just about boats, it's about us. Every cell in your body, every memory in your mind changes with time. So what is the you that persists? We tend to believe in a core identity, something constant. But what if that belief is just a convenient fiction? What if identity is not a fixed object, but a story we keep telling ourselves? The ship of Theseus is more than a thought experiment. It's a ghost story, one where the ghost is us, haunting a body, a name, a memory that is no longer the same. Achilles and the tortoise, forever almost there. Achilles, the fastest warrior in Greece, challenges a tortoise to a race. Out of fairness, the tortoise gets a small head start. By the time Achilles reaches the tortoise's starting point, the tortoise has moved a little further. When Achilles reaches that point, the tortoise has moved again, and so on infinitely. Zeno's paradox insists Achilles will never catch the tortoise. Of course, in real life, we know he would, but that's not the point. The paradox exposes a deeper riddle about time and motion. Can infinite tasks be completed in a finite time? Modern calculus answers yes, but Zeno's paradox survives in a symbolic form. Because we live it every day. We chase goals, dreams, perfection, and every time we get closer, the goal shifts a little further. Success, love, peace. They move like the tortoise, always just beyond reach. Perhaps the paradox isn't about motion, but about desire. We are all Achilles, and the tortoise is the life we're trying to catch. The liar paradox, the sentence that destroys itself. I am lying. If that sentence is true, then the speaker's lying, so the sentence is false. But if the sentence is false, then the speaker's not lying, so the sentence is true. Round and round we go. This is the liar paradox, a self-defeating loop that breaks language itself. It's not just a logic puzzle, it's a virus in thought, one that infects systems that try to talk about themselves. In mathematics, it haunts Gödel's incompleteness theorems. In AI, it appears in feedback loops. In politics, it manifests when leaders say, "You can't trust anything I say." Even our internal monologues contain liar's paradoxes. I always doubt everything. But then, can you doubt that very sentence? The paradox whispers something chilling. If you examine truth too closely, it begins to crack. Language cannot fully contain reality, especially when it turns inward. The liar is not just a paradox, it's a mirror. And when we stare too long, we begin to unravel. The brain in a vat. What if nothing is real? You wake up. You see light, feel warmth, hear the wind. But what if all of it is fake? Imagine your brain has been removed and placed in a vat, connected to a supercomputer. The signals it receives are perfectly simulated. You live a life in your mind, but in reality, you're floating in silence. How would you know? This is the brain in a vat thought experiment, modern cousin of Descartes' evil demon and spiritual ancestor of the Matrix. It's not just a fantasy. As AI, VR, and neural interfaces grow more advanced, the line between real and simulation blurs. You touch a wall, but what is that sensation except neurons firing? You hear a voice. But what is sound except an electrical pattern? If all perception is filtered through a fragile nervous system, then the world we know is not the world. It is a hallucination we agree to believe in. And the most dangerous hallucination? The belief that we are awake. The grandfather paradox, killing time. Time travel, a dream, or a trap. Suppose you go back in time and kill your grandfather before he meets your grandmother. Then you are never born. But if you were never born, how did you go back in time? This is the grandfather paradox, a time loop that destroys itself. It's not just a question of physics, but of causality. Can effects erase their causes? Some theories say time prevents paradoxes. It heals itself, refusing contradiction. Others propose branching universes. You kill your grandfather in an alternate timeline, not your own. But what if the real lesson isn't about time, but about our illusion of control? We think we can rewrite the past, fix mistakes, undo pain. But every attempt to erase leads to more entanglement. The past is not a stone, it's a shadow. You cannot strike it, you can only dance with it. And maybe in that dance we find that time is not a line. It is a spiral, winding back on itself again and again. The paradox of the unexpected hanging, the execution that defeats logic. A judge tells a prisoner, "You will be hanged at noon on one weekday next week, but the execution will be a surprise. You won't know the day until the hangman knocks." The prisoner smiles. He thinks, "It can't be Friday. If I'm still alive on Thursday night, then it must be Friday, so it wouldn't be a surprise." He reasons backwards. Then it can't be Thursday either, because if I survive to Wednesday night and Friday is ruled out, then it must be Thursday. He eliminates every day. But then, on a random Wednesday, the guards arrive. The prisoner is shocked. The hanging was a surprise. This is the unexpected hanging paradox, where logical deduction leads to a false conclusion. It's a trap disguised as reason. It teaches us a haunting truth. Not all knowledge can be predicted. Some truths must arrive like lightning, sudden, shattering, and beyond expectation. The deeper message? The mind can twist itself into knots trying to control the unknown. But fate has its own schedule. The bootstrap paradox, the loop that creates itself. A historian travels back in time with a copy of Shakespeare's Hamlet. He hands it to a young Shakespeare, who publishes it as his own. Centuries later, the same historian reads Hamlet, goes back again, and gives it to Shakespeare. But now, who wrote Hamlet? This is the bootstrap paradox. An object or information that exists without origin, looping through time with no creator. It breaks the idea of cause and effect. If something can exist without being created, what else could? Could consciousness be a bootstrap? Could the universe be one? A self-creating loop with no beginning? And if that's true, then perhaps we are all part of a cosmic recursion, each life feeding the next, each idea inspiring its own past. The bootstrap paradox isn't just about time travel, it's about mystery, about the terror and wonder of things that just are. The omnipotence paradox, the power that destroys itself. Can an all-powerful being create a rock so heavy that even it cannot lift it? If yes, then it is not all-powerful, because it cannot lift the rock. If no, then it is not all-powerful, because it cannot create the rock. This is the omnipotence paradox, and it tears at the heart of divinity. Theologians, philosophers, and seekers have wrestled with it for centuries. Some say true omnipotence must be self-consistent. Others claim the question is flawed, like asking for a square circle. But what if the flaw isn't in the question, but in our minds? We crave ultimate answers, total control, infinite knowledge, unstoppable power. But each of those, taken to the extreme, eats itself alive. Perhaps the paradox isn't about gods at all. Perhaps it's about us, about the danger of craving a perfection that cannot exist. Because real power may lie not in doing the impossible, but in accepting what shouldn't be done. The Sorite's paradox, the heap that disappears. Take a single grain of sand. Clearly it's not a heap. Add another. Still not a heap. Keep going. When does it become a heap? Now reverse it. Remove one grain at a time. At what point does the heap stop being a heap? This is the Sorite's paradox, or the paradox of the heap. It asks, when do small changes become big ones? This may seem trivial until you realize life is made of grains. When do you fall out of love? When do you become wise? When does a person turn into a stranger? The Sorite's paradox shows that identity, morality, and meaning are all slippery slopes. We pretend there are clear boundaries, but they're illusions. We are all heaps of shifting sand, constantly redefined by what's added or taken away. And maybe in the end, all that holds us together is the story we tell about the pile. The twin paradox, the time that splits two twins. One stays on Earth, the other boards a spaceship, travels near the speed of light, and returns. When they meet again, the space-traveling twin is younger. This is the twin paradox, a strange result of Einstein's theory of relativity. Time is not absolute. It bends, warps, stretches. But beyond physics, this paradox haunts us with deeper questions. What is time, really? We say time flies when we're happy. We say it drags when we're sad. But what if that's not metaphor? What if our experience of time is our reality? Two people can live the same year. One feels it as a blink, the other a lifetime. And if time itself is subjective, if clocks lie, then how do we measure a life? By years or by memories? The twin paradox is not just a scientific anomaly. It's a reminder that time isn't fair. It flows differently for each of us, and we never meet the same way twice. The paradox of the grandfather, the time assassin's dilemma. You travel back in time and kill your grandfather before your parent is born. If you succeed, you were never born. But if you were never born, you couldn't have gone back in time. So he lives and you're born. So you go back and kill him. And so the cycle spins. This is the grandfather paradox, the cornerstone of time travel nightmares. It questions the very logic of causality. Can cause and effect be broken? Can time be rewritten? Or is history a locked door? Some scientists argue that time would correct itself. Others believe in multiple timelines, where your actions spawn alternate realities. But what if we live in one of those splintered worlds? What if history has been rewritten, but we just don't remember the original? Perhaps déjà vu is the echo of a timeline we've lost. Perhaps our reality is full of ghosts from futures that never happened. Zeno's paradox. The arrow that never moves. Imagine an arrow in flight. At any single instant, it's frozen, motionless in midair. If every moment is motionless, how can the arrow ever move? This is Zeno's arrow paradox, and it asks, what is motion? If time is made of instants, and each instant is still, then motion is impossible. But the arrow does move. We see it. We feel it. So either our perception is broken, or time is not what we think. Maybe motion isn't a series of still frames, but something deeper, an illusion stitched together by our minds. In that case, you're not moving through time. Time is moving through you, the paradox of Theseus's ship, the identity that fades. A ship sails the seas. Over time, every plank is replaced, every nail, every sail. Eventually, no original parts remain. Is it still the same ship? Now imagine all the old parts are rebuilt into a second ship, Which one is the real ship of Theseus? This paradox reaches into the core of identity. If every cell in your body is replaced over time, are you still you? We change memories, habits, beliefs. Our past selves become strangers. So what anchors us? Maybe identity is not a collection of parts, but the story we tell about them. Maybe self is a kind of myth, a comforting illusion that lets us function. But if we are all walking paradoxes, then perhaps that's what makes us real. The sleeping beauty paradox. The mind that miscounts you. Volunteer for an experiment. On Sunday, you're told, you will be put to sleep. If a coin lands heads, you'll be awakened once on Monday. If it's tails, you'll be awakened twice, on Monday and Tuesday, but with memory erased, so each awakening feels like the first. When you wake up, without knowing which day it is, what's the probability the coin landed heads? Intuitively, many say 50%, but others argue it's 1 in 3. Why? Because if the coin is tails, you wake up twice. So out of 3 possible awakenings, only 1 corresponds to heads. This is the sleeping beauty paradox, and it breaks the way we think about probability, memory, and reality. It's a riddle about perspective. You think you know where you are, when you are, why you are. But what if your certainty is just repetition? What if memory is the trickster, and each day is a lie you tell yourself? The Raven Paradox, the logic that lies. All ravens are black. So if you see a black raven, it supports the statement. But logically, so does seeing a green apple, because it is not a raven and is not black, which also fits the rule. This is the Raven Paradox, and it shows how confirmation can be misleading. In theory, every non-black non-raven confirms all ravens are black. But in practice, that feels absurd. This paradox is a warning. Logic isn't always truth. It can lead us into strange lands where reason loses touch with reality. In an age of data, algorithms, and endless proof, we must ask, are we really getting closer to truth or just chasing patterns in the dark? Conclusion: living in the paradox. These 15 paradoxes aren't puzzles to solve. They are mirrors. They show us the cracks in our thinking, the limits of our language, and the fragility of what we call truth. We seek certainty. Paradoxes offer doubt. We want control. Paradoxes reveal chaos. We crave identity. Paradoxes whisper, you are a story pretending to be solid. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe paradox is the soul's way of reminding us to stay awake, to stay curious, to remember that beyond every answer is another question. And in that endless search, in the mystery itself, we might find what it means to be truly alive.